Hello, this is Ian Sumrall for Country Sports TV. Just when you thought it was safe to go out shooting again, we see that Wild Justice, the Chris Packham crowd, and Mark Avery have got another court case pending. Well, what they do is they haven't taken anybody to court yet. It hadn't cost them anything, maybe a few letters from a solicitor. But they've now threatened the government with the way we manage game birds, saying that it's devastating the wildlife. There's some half-truths, mistruths and outright bloody lies in the document that they've produced. I'd like to go through a couple of things. Oh, you can't make this crap up, can you? Now, what they're saying is that pheasants eat native plants. Yeah, that may be true. But plants are still thriving, although they're eating them. They eat invertebrates. Yes, they eat the slugs and worms and all that sort of thing. But they're not in any danger. They eat reptiles. I got no proof of that. They eat small birds. I don't know about that one. I'm going to have to... I'd like to speak to a keeper about that. See if he's got any information on that. And mammals. Do they? I don't think pheasants eat mammals. But I stand to be corrected if any gamekeeper out there wants to put a comment below and explain how many pheasants eat mammals and what mammals they do eat. They're also on about us shooting big bags of birds. Well, let's be honest, if the birds weren't put down, the birds couldn't be shot. So you wouldn't get big bags if you didn't put the birds down. Now, there is an argument over how many pheasants you can shoot. And they're saying that they're just digging a hole and dumping them. I've heard rumours of that over many years, but I've got no proof of that at all. Now, should we be stopping the number of birds that we shoot? No, I don't think so. If the birds aren't put down, the birds can't be shot. That is what regulates the number of birds that can be shot, is the amount you put down. So, what I'd like is for us to find a market for the birds to make sure that they aren't dumped if they are dumped. But the problem we have is the scare we had over lead shot. Under John Swift and Harradine of Basque, along with the WWT and RSPB, they said we shouldn't be eating lead shot food. Now, this is totally untrue and there's no proof of this. When it went to the government came out and said that pregnant ladies shouldn't eat lead shot game. And that's about as far as they went. But because of the scare, people won't eat game. So that's something that we've created ourselves. It's something that Basque has created. Now, how do we get out of that hole? How do Basque turn around now and say, it's safe to eat game, when they've been telling us under John Swift and Harradine that we shouldn't be? Now, I went all through this when we went through the lead shot. Went all through the scientific documents that I could find. Read as many as I could. I spent 6 hours a day every morning, from 6 o'clock in the morning until 12, reading scientific documents to try and see what proof they had to get rid of lead. There was no proof. This document that Wild Justice has just put out says that we're scattering lead poison in the environment again. Well, that has been proven to be false. One of the documents I read, one of the scientific papers I read, said that they tested nettles and grass, and they found there was no take-up of lead at all in any of it. They went to a big game shoot. They found out where the lead shot was dropping. They tested the worms. And if there was any animal that was going to pick up the worms, going to pick up the lead, it would be the worms. No lead pickup. No lead above the natural level. Now, everything's got a natural lead level. Even we have. It's all according to the area that you live in. Here on the Somerset levels, our water comes from the Mendips. So my lead levels in my body are going to be higher than somebody that lives down on Dartmoor, that lives down on the granite, because they'll have a lower lead level in their water. Now, the studies that were done in Norway showed that the lead levels between natural lead levels and lead levels of people that ate hunted meat were so small they couldn't detect it. And in most cases, the hunters had a lower lead level than the people in the town. So it's all misleading information again. But it's all scaremongery against shooting. And we've got to fight it. We can't lay back and say, oh, they haven't got a clue what they're talking about. We don't want anything to do with this. We have to come out and explain what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. We've got more and more people living in the towns. Small cities, villages are now small towns. They're divorcing themselves from the countryside. People don't see pheasants and rabbits hanging up on butchers' walls anymore. I can remember going down the village as a kid, and in the winter there would be pheasants and rabbits hanging up on the wall outside the butchers. Well, you wouldn't get that now. I can remember my grandad bringing hares home and dumping them on the kitchen table for my mother to skin. He'd gutted them in the field, and then he'd come in and he'd had a rabbit, and he'd bring the rabbit in and put a rabbit on. Then as a kid we'd go out beating. Dad worked on the docks in Bristol, and one of the guys on the docks was a guy called John Cook. His brothers worked on the docks, and John Cook was a big gun dog man. Still is, brilliant bloke. Where he used to go beating and take his dogs, our dad used to take us along. I was, 12, 13? And we always came home with pheasants, a brace of pheasants. Some pocket money to say thank you. I think in those days it was about 3 or 4 quid we got, that was all. Or a pound, I don't know, something, enough to buy a couple of bars of chocolate. And a couple of pheasants. And I can remember our dad in the shed plucking the pheasants, feathers flying everywhere. When you open the door, the breeze go in, and the feathers would go everywhere. You shut that door! But that's how we lived. That's how I live now. I get customers go duck shooting. They go wildfowling. And if they find that they got more ducks than they want, they'll drop a couple into the workshop. It's just how we live in the countryside. But you can't see somebody going into town and dropping off rabbits or ducks or pheasants to somebody in town. The neighbours would be horrified. But wild nature want to stop us doing this. They want to control pheasant shooting. How they want to do it, I don't know. They're saying that the government aren't controlling it. Well, I don't know what's to control. The fact is that where you have a keepered piece of ground, there is more biodiversity. Fact. There was a study done by Bath Spa University by a guy called Paul Cram. Now, Paul Cram was a big gun dog man and a gamekeeper. And he went to Bath Spa to do a biodiversity course on managing wildlife in the hope that he could get a gamekeeper's job. So he ended up in Spain. He's working his gun dogs in Spain now. Brilliant bloke. Anyway, he done a study for his BSc on game shoots and ground that didn't have game shoots. And he found a piece of ground up on the Mendips that had a pheasant shoot on one half of the estate, and the other half of the estate had been sold off to an insurance company. And the insurance company didn't want shooting on the ground, so they'd stopped it for 10 or 20 years or something like that. He did a study on the butterflies and on the fauna. He found there was more diversity of butterflies on the game shoot, even though the pheasants may have been eating the caterpillars. There was still more butterflies on the game shoot than there was where they weren't shooting. He also found out that there was more songbirds on the game shoot. And his conclusion was where the gamekeeper was feeding the pheasants, after the pheasants had moved off and moved out, when he fed them, you know, and they put straw down to make the pheasants scratch around to make them last longer in the area. When the pheasants move out, the songbirds would come in and eat the little bits. So his conclusion was that the songbird population was higher because they were eating the food that hadn't been left by the pheasants. So the shoot was beneficial to the natural wildlife. Fact. Now we've got this Wild Justice trying to have a go at us again. They're having a go, like I said, over big bags and accidents of game birds on roads. Well, if you're going through the countryside, like in Exmoor, where they've got a couple of big shoots, if you're going around the smaller roads, you know there's fellas around, and you just take your time and they just wander out of the way. No problem. If someone's going to drive through like a maniac because they live in a town and they got clear roads, of course they're going to have accidents with pheasants. Oh, enough to make you swear, innit? And I've promised I was going to be good on these videos. I promised I wasn't going to swear. I've always tried to be nice. I've always tried to be friendly. You know, we don't know who's going to be listening. You know, I've got to do it so these videos, that my mother could listen to them. You know, I could make it blue. I could make it very blue. But I'm not going to. Now, if you have a look around, I think Sporting Gun had the report this week. It's been on Facebook. It's on the Country Sports TV Facebook page. If you want to read the whole article, I suggest you read it. And I suggest before you make any comments below that you read the whole lot, because it is quite involved. And I hope that the government are going to fight this and not just roll over like they did with the licensing. We've still got 2 licenses for pigeon shooting. I've asked the question. I wrote an email to Basque asking if I could have an interview at the game fair this year to explain why we've got 2 licenses for pigeon shooting. They haven't replied yet. I still wait, and I still hope I can get an interview. I also want to know why we got the general license and why can't we put those rules into law on the Wildlife and Countryside Act, so that we all know what we're doing, so that it doesn't have to be renewed every year. This wild justice is not going to go away. We have to fight it, and we have to fight it all together. We can't rely on our organisations. Our organisations have their own agendas to follow. So, please read the article. It's in Sporting Gum. It's on a lot of the Facebook groups have copied it onto there. I think it's on wood pigeon shooting. I think it's on the Field Sports for All page. And it's on Country Sports TV Facebook page. So please read it. Please go through it. And if anybody's going to the game fair this year, I'll be there for 3 days. I've got a problem with my hip. I've got arthritis in the hip, so I'm not walking as good as I should. So what I've done this year is I've got a little mobility scooter. It's red at the moment, and I'm hoping to paint it camouflage, but I don't know when I get there. So if you see me with my camera kit on the back of a mobility scooter, say hello. I'm going to be based at the Working Dog Ring, where I'll be filming most of the day. But I've got a couple of interviews. I've got an interview with the Countryside Alliance with Tim Bonner. Hope to meet up with him. I've got an interview with a gun engraver. Hopefully he'll turn up. But I'm out and about around the game fair, filming. If I'm filming, please wait until I've finished to say hello. And have a great show. I love the game fair. I've been doing the game fair for over 30 years now, and I've only missed 2. I missed the Scottish one, and one game fair we had a holiday booked for somewhere else. So I've only missed 2 game fairs in the last 30 years. So this, according to my mobility, this might be my last game fair I do, but I'm going to film as much as I can. I'm going to report back to you as much as I can. If I can upload videos from the showground, from the press tent using their Wi-Fi, I will. If not, it'll have to wait until the week after. But we're gonna have fun at the game fair. We're gonna meet lots of people, see what we can find out about this general license, why we got 2 general licenses for pigeon shooting, why we got the general licenses at all in the first place, how we can get rid of them and put something on the Wildlife and Countryside Act as fixed, so it doesn't have to be renewed every year. And now we got this Wild Justice hanging over our heads. How are the shooting organisations going to fight it? That's what I want to know, is what are they going to do for us? Anyway, thanks for listening. And if you're going to the game fair, drive safely. And if you are there, take care. If it's hot, take some water. Don't rely on beer. Take some water. There'll be taps to fill your water bottles up. Take a reusable water bottle if possible. Got no problems with that. Then you're not throwing empty water bottles around that somebody's got to pick up. Or find a dustbin to put it in. Use a renewable one and then you can just fill it up while you go around. They got water taps normally at the game fair. If you are there, if you do see me, just say hello. Just say I like your videos, or your videos are crap, mate. I don't mind, but say hello and we'll have a good time. Cheers, and I'll see you at the game fair.